So I see a lot of social workers putting off becoming an entrepreneur until they get their clinical licensure. And then I see a lot of other social workers coming straight out of school and monetizing their skills, knowledge, talents, and expertise. Now, they might do this by starting a blog or a podcast, or they might create a digital product. And this is just a few ways that I see social workers monetizing their skills. So when I get the age old question, do I need my license to become a social work entrepreneur? My answer is always yes and no. By the end of this video, you'll be able to determine if you're going to need your social work license, your LCSW or your LMSW, to start your private practice or business journey. Because in this episode, I'm going to share 3 reasons why you will need your license to start your business and 3 reasons why you won't need your license to start your business. So let's get into it. Hi there, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Michelle V. Scott, and I am a social worker turned entrepreneur. I help other social workers go from being overworked and underpaid to owning their entire 24 hours as they become their own boss. If you're a social worker with dreams of becoming an entrepreneur, please be sure to hit the subscribe button. So, licensure is a popular topic among social workers. I'm pretty sure you know. I remember being in my program, and it was the first thing people talked about day one. We hadn't even made it through the program, and people were talking about getting their licensure and the process of doing that. And one of the questions I get from many of the social workers I work with one on one is, Michelle, do I need my license to become an entrepreneur? Because some of them do have their license and some of them don't. The ones who don't, that have these entrepreneurial aspirations, are often stuck in a space where they're thinking, I can't do anything as a social work entrepreneur until I get that clinical license, because they think the only type of business that they can start is a clinical private practice. But today I'm going to share some reasons why you will need that license. And then I'm also going to share some reasons you won't, because there are businesses that do not require you to be a licensed clinician in order to be an entrepreneur. So let's get into the 3 reasons why you will need your license and the 3 reasons why you won't. So one of the first reasons why you will need your clinical licensure to become an entrepreneur is because you want to start a clinical private practice. So this is kind of a no-brainer. In order to start a clinical private practice, you need to have clinical licensure. And many times in a lot of states, you need to have that clinical licensure for a certain period of time before you can go out on your own. Now, of course, this varies state to state, and so you'll want to check with your specific state to see what the requirements are for that clinical practice or for your clinical licensure. One of the second reasons that you're going to need a license to start your entrepreneurial journey is because you want to start work as an independent contractor for one of the health insurance plans. And so you want to get credentialed with a health plan. That way you can bring a steady stream of revenue into your clinical private practice. And so you're going to need that license in order to be an independent contractor for the health plans. It is a requirement to panel with the insurances. I think many people probably know this already, but I did want to put it out there because when you panel with the insurance, you're considered an independent contractor, but that is not the only way that you can be an independent contractor. There are other ways to be independent contractors, such as partnering with an existing group that already has the infrastructure. You just literally come into that group. You are still your own boss, but because that infrastructure is already there, you don't have to worry about setting up billing systems. You don't have to worry about office help. There's a lot of things you don't have to worry about when you join an existing group that's a private practice, and you can become an independent contractor with that group practice. And so you will definitely need your clinical licensure for that endeavor. And sometimes you can have your LMSW and go into a group practice and still get registered with insurance. And so that is another reason why you want to have your license as a social work entrepreneur. And one of the third reasons why you might want to have your license in order to start your entrepreneurial journey is because you want to open a nonprofit that does clinical assessments and renders some type of clinical service. And so, in order to do this, you will need your licensure. Many times, a lot of the grants that you can obtain for a nonprofit require you to at least have your LMSW licensure to meet the requirements of the grant. Now, I know that there are grants out there that do not require that, but from what I've seen, my friend has a nonprofit. I watched her start it. And from what I've seen, many times you at least need your base licensure, which would be your LMSW. So, what other professions do you know of that you would need your clinical licensure in order to be an entrepreneur in that profession? Go ahead and tell me in the comments because I'm quite sure there are more than these three reasons. And I'd like to hear from you reasons that you found that you would need your license to be a social work entrepreneur. So now we are going to move on to three reasons why you won't need your license to become a social work entrepreneur. I love these reasons. If you know, you may not know, I do not have my license. And so there's a little bit of story behind this. When I graduated, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Hell, when I went into my social work program, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. However, I wasn't sure if I wanted to do clinical work or some other kind of work. I knew I wanted to work with plus size women who were chronic dieters, but I wasn't fully sure if I was going to work with them in a clinical capacity or another capacity. And so by the time I reached graduation, I realized I wanted to do more health coaching than actual like clinical assessment, diagnosis, and deal with the clinical issues that they might be seeing someone for. And so what I decided to do was not get licensed because in New York State, as soon as you get that LMSW, the clock is ticking down until you can get that LCSW, and you only have 6 years. Also in New York State, it takes 3 years to even apply for your clinical designation. So even if you have the hours put in at 2 years, you still need to wait to that third year to be able to apply for your clinical designation. And so I knew that I didn't have a job when I graduated. My job was as a clinical trainer and supervisor here working for New York State. And I knew I didn't need my clinical licensure for that. And I wasn't going to be able to get the supervision hours and do all of the things, right? And so I put it off because I said I didn't want that clock to start ticking. Now that I've kind of planted my feet firmly in what I will be doing, I am going to get my LMSW, not because I really need it for anything that I do, but I think it just provides evidence of ethical values. And I believe that you should be licensed as a professional and there should be some governing body that oversees the work that you do. And because I am doing behavioral health coaching, and anybody can slap a coach behind their name these days and become some type of coach. For me, I really wanted to go ahead and get that licensure to really support the fact that I have the skill set to go ahead and do the work that I do with people. And so that's my little story on why I didn't get my license. And there might be many of you out there deciding if you're going to get licensed or not. Maybe there's things going on that you need to wait. Maybe you just don't want to do it as far as getting your clinical license. Let me just say my stance on this. I think if you go to school for your MSW and you graduate, you should at least obtain your LMSW license. Now, that's just my opinion. It's not a requirement. But again, I think it just shows evidence of your commitment to the profession. So let's jump right into 3 reasons why you will not need your license to become a social work entrepreneur. So reason number 1, you are going to monetize a piece of intellectual property. And so what do I mean by that? So say for instance, you write a book or an ebook, or you create something, some type of guide to help people with a process, and you're going to monetize that, right? So you're going to sell it to potentially other clinicians, or you're going to sell it to people who might be clients, or you're just going to sell that product possibly on Amazon if it's an ebook. And by doing this, you don't need a license to write that book or have that book published. You also don't need a license to produce other pieces of intellectual property. Now, when you came into social work, there were other skills, knowledge, and talents that you have that you can fuse with the skill set you have as a social worker to enter into other business endeavors, right? And so, not all of your business endeavors need to wholly exist in the social work world, I guess, such as like it would for clinical private practice. And so, if you are writing an ebook, if you have some type of process guide that you've created, if you've created some piece of intellectual property that was used to help you and is helping other people, you can absolutely monetize that piece of intellectual property and sell it. And you do not need your clinical licensure to do that. One of the second ways that you can monetize your skill set without clinical licensure, or any license for that matter, outside of a business license, maybe, is to become a coach of some sort. So you could become a business coach or a behavior coach or some type of coach where you don't necessarily need that clinical licensure. Now, again, I believe that if you're a social worker and you're going to engage in the practice of coaching, you at least need to have your LMSW. However, it's not required either. So you could start your business while you work on getting your LMSW. And so working as a coach is a great way to still help people and not necessarily have to engage in clinical activities such as assessment and diagnosis and all of the things that you do as a clinical social worker. You can always work in conjunction with other clinical social workers as a coach. And I know that's how I do my first business, Facets Health and Wellness. I work in conjunction with therapists who are seeing people for their clinical issues. I also see people who aren't seeing any therapist for issues, but the ones that are, I work in conjunction with them as a behavioral modification coach. And so for me, it's really my job to support them in their behavior changes, and then the clinician's job to support them with the underlying issues that might lead to some of those behaviors. And so they are dealing with those clinical issues such as major depressive disorder or their anxiety disorder or any type of body image issues they may be having. And so you don't need a license to be able to be a coach of some sort. I consider myself a business coach. I started my private coaching practice. I've started other business endeavors. And so I know how to start a business. And so when my friends were coming to me in the midst of COVID with help, wanting help, starting their business, I definitely jumped into that and started a business, not even thinking I was going to start a business doing this, teaching other social workers how to go into business. But hey, you never know what happens. And then one of the third reasons why you won't need a license to start your social work entrepreneurial journey is because you're going to sell a digital product. And so this is one of the reasons why I teach social workers either how to start a clinical private practice or a digital online business, because for one, a digital online business is really the best way to free up your time, to take control of your economic destiny, and to really have the most career freedom that you would probably have, because you are creating a product that you can sell over and over and over again. And while you might need to update it or refine it and have better iterations of that digital product, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Once you create it, that bad boy can sell on autopilot, and it is a great way to really have passive stream of revenue for yourself. And in order to do this, you do not need any type of licensure. Again, you might need a business license, but you don't need any type of clinical licensure, and you don't even need your LMSW. But as I've said throughout this entire video, it is my personal opinion that you should still get that LMSW, simply because you never know what's going to happen, and you might need it for other endeavors that you enter into as a social work entrepreneur. So, are you considering now possibly starting a business without your clinical licensure? If so, I want you to jump into the comments and let me know what business you might start as a social worker without your license, or let me know what business you will start once you get your license. And there you have it, an answer to an age-old question. Do I need my license to become a social work entrepreneur? And as I said, my answer is always yes and no. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to share it with friends. Click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and be sure to hit the bell icon so you are notified every time I post a new upload. Of course, if you have any questions about this video or any other video on my channel, please be sure to sign up for a meet and greet where you can ask me your questions directly. You will find a link to the meet and greet in the description box below, and I look forward to seeing you there. In my next Masterclass Monday video, I'm going to discuss how you can package your skills, knowledge, talents, and areas of expertise into a digital product. So until next time, this is your girl Michelle saying, stop waiting. The time is now. Start your private practice or business. Come on already. Start. It's 2022. Don't keep waiting. Bye for now. And so these, I forgot to turn my phone off, y'all.